So I Know What You Did Last Summer really tried to be a bit more of a serious version of Scream, but unfortunately it just did not work. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video we are going to be reviewing I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is a teen slasher film from the mind of Kevin Williamson, who also wrote the Scream franchise, the incredibly successful Scream franchise. And after that was so incredibly successful, they really quickly greenlit this movie and put it into production. And it's a lot more serious, a lot more realistic, and draws a lot of inspiration from similar 80s thrillers. And whilst it is a little bit more suspenseful, it just isn't that great, unfortunately. From a moral perspective, all of the guilt and the burden and the inability to move on with their lives, given everything that these characters went through in the beginning of this movie, is really, really interesting. But unfortunately, the mystery and the killer just isn't that great, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this movie review. So the film opens up by showing four promising friends getting ready to graduate high school and start their lives and have very successful futures as they get ready to leave this coastal area. One day in their final outing, they're chilling on a beach and discussing urban legends, one of which includes a guy with a hook, which then obviously ends up becoming a reality for these characters. They then accidentally run someone over and ultimately decide to throw this character's body in the river so that they don't get caught. A year goes by and these characters all reconvene and they're unable to move on from the trauma of what happened to them last year in the summer, and a brand new killer with a hook is on the loose and is after all of these characters. So the film then explores which one of them is going to survive. Now, from a positive point of view, this film is really great as it really does embrace its more serious tone, and this killer is really, really unstoppable. It seems as if he has got superpowers, as nobody is able to destroy him. And like I said, the morality of this movie in terms of these characters being stuck in a bit of a purgatory state where they really are unable to access this successful future that they were dreaming for themselves right in the beginning of this movie. And there is a little bit of a mystery in terms of who is this killer, why is he after them, what is the background of this character. You find all of that out in this film, and there are loads of red herrings in terms of who is the actual person behind this mask. However, from a negatives point of view, whilst there is a bit of a whodunit mystery in this movie, it just isn't as compelling or intriguing, and it is really, really slow paced. I mean, this movie does go up and down a lot, very frequently, in terms of your enjoyment, instead of progressing upwards across this movie. Ultimately, it just lacks a lot of excitement and is unable to hook the audience into the storyline of this movie, no pun intended. But you know, that being said, it does still explain everything that's going on in this film. And so from a storyline point of view, whilst it's not as enjoyable as other slasher movies are, it does at least still try to do its own thing as well. So from a cast and characters point of view, they've actually got a really, really good cast in this movie. So let's go through them one by one. So first up, we have Jennifer Love Hewitt, who is playing the Julie character. Now, while she is the main lead character in this film, she really doesn't feel like a lead character. And if anything, she's actually pretty annoying, a little bit weak as a lead character as well, especially in the final act of this movie, as pretty much all she is contributing is just screaming whenever she sees this guy with a hook. She's really not adding any value at all, especially, like I said, in the final act of this movie. They really did fix this issue in the second movie, and over there, she is actually a brilliant lead character. But as far as this movie is concerned, she isn't that great. But you know, that being said, she is a really good investigator and is really, really good in terms of coming up with the truth about who is the person wielding this hook. And so from that point of view, she actually brings a lot. But otherwise, as far as a team member lead character, she doesn't do that much. Next up, we have Sarah Michelle Gellar, who contrastingly does do a really, really good job as the Helen character and really should have been the lead character in this film, especially as she probably has one of the best horror movie sequences ever, as she is running across this town and into her sister's shop as the guy with the hook is running after her as well. And then her sequence trying so hard to survive was really, really impressive and is really interesting actually, as she was at the same time filming Scream 2, where she also has one of the best sequences in that movie. And so I feel like Sarah Michelle Gellar is bringing so much to the horror franchises, and also starts off this movie, so like I said, really should have been the lead character and then passed on the baton to the Julie character for the second movie. Next up, we have Ryan Phillippe, who is playing a character called Ray, a really overconfident, really arrogant, really loud jock type person. In some moments, I do feel like Ryan Phillippe is really overacting, But contrastingly, actually, he is somewhat the most relatable, especially in terms of the way in which this character is thinking. And also he has got some of the best one-liners, and similarly to the Helen character, has got some really cool sequences with the fisherman as well. Next up we have Freddie Prinze Jr., who is playing a character called Ray, who's a bit of an everyman, a bit of a nice guy, who actually you are the most suspicious of, as you are thinking maybe somebody within this folk group is the person behind the mask, and like I said, you are the most suspicious of this character. Next up we actually have the fisherman, and like I said, the mystery surrounding this character, whilst it wasn't as compelling as other movies are, it is still a little bit intriguing in terms of how they explain who the person is, especially in the final few moments of this film. However, whilst he was lethal and deadly, he was just void of any personality. There are some other characters in this movie as well, for example, another friend who they are also suspicious of, and Helen's sister as well, but none of them are fleshed out as much as these four characters are. So from a visuals point of view, this movie is really dark. It has been famously reported that most of the sequences in this movie were all filmed during the nighttime, which did actually cause a bit of controversy with the residents of the people that lived where they were filming. But that being said, I feel like it still works with the eerie setting that they're giving in this film. Like I said, there are some wicked chase sequences, mainly from Sarah Michelle Gellar's Helen character. And I feel like they really embrace the fact that they are in this dock setting. Maybe not the most inspiring, but you are really immersed in the location that they are creating. There is limited gore in this movie. I mean, some of the death sequences will definitely put a chill down your spine, but they're definitely not at the same level as, for example, Scream is at. You definitely get the small town vibes that this film is creating as well. And the final act of this movie is actually all set in a boat, which is really terrifying as well. And so from a visuals point of view, whilst they are pretty dated, as this movie was filmed in the 90s, I do feel like they do actually hold up today as well. So from a comparisons point of view, I definitely preferred I Know What You Did Last Summer to Cherry Falls, to Urban Legends, and to the horrendous TV series reboot. I think is also a lot stronger than the third installment, I Will Always Know What You Did Last Summer, but I don't think it's as good as I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I feel like the sequel is actually so much stronger than the first original movie, and I also don't think it's as good as the Scream franchise, Valentine, or The Faculty, which I think are all so much stronger than I Know What You Did Last Summer. So overall, with I Know What You Did Last Summer, I didn't think it was awful, but I was just expecting so much more from it. I mean, it has the It kids from the 90s in this slasher mystery movie, but unfortunately it just wasn't that enjoyable, wasn't that endearing, and just wasn't that exciting either. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you thought of I Know What You Did Last Summer, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.